My name is Sam with Brazilian Wood Depot, and just below this video, there are a set of questions. It's not obvious, some of these questions, why I might be asking them, so I thought I'd make a short video explaining why I'm asking each of the questions in the questionnaire below. These are the same questions that I would ask if you were to pick up the phone and call me, but this way you can do it just by clicking a few things. Let me explain what they are. The first one is this a new construction deck, or are you replacing an existing deck? That helps me know that if we have a little bit of flexibility in the direction of the joist or the joist spacing, I might be able to give some advice on that. So if it's a new deck, let me know. If it's an existing deck, let me know that too. It's pretty helpful. And by the way, if it is a new deck, you may not know some of the next questions, which is fine. There's an option for it. The next one is joist spacing. So joist spacing is exactly what it sounds like. And if it's a new deck, you may not know, and that's okay, we can talk about it. But to find out what the joist spacing is, if you already have an existing deck, you take your tape measure and place it in the center of one joist, pull your tape measure out to the center of the next joist. Usually that's gonna be 16 inches or 12 inches on center. We say on center because we're going from center of joist, center of joist. So the options are, you're not sure, 12 inches, 16 inches, 20 inches, or 24 inches. This helps with a lot of different things. That way I know, most importantly, the quantity of fasteners. It'll help me know that because you'll need more fasteners if your joists are closer together, fewer if they're farther apart. But it'll also help me determine what thickness of board we need. If you're 24 inches on center, maybe we should be looking at a 5/4 by 6, a thicker board. And if you're at 12 or 16 inches on center, we're probably gonna be talking about 1 by 6. Maybe even 1 by 4 or 5/4 by 4. The joist spacing helps me determine fastening method, quantity of fasteners, and the profile type that's appropriate for your project. So it's an important question. Sunlight exposure. Here are the options: heavy, moderate, light, or covered. Why on earth would I be asking about sunlight exposure in this kind of conversation? Because if it's covered, I have an open door to a lot more different product types. For instance, 3.5 inch or 5 inch tongue and groove for covered porches is very popular. But if it's exposed to heavy sunlight and there's no roof over it, then those aren't options and we don't need to talk about them. So yes, it's helpful to know. Also, the level of sunlight exposure does to some degree help me determine what species of wood is best. Of course, Ipe does well in everything, but some of the others do better in certain sunlight exposure conditions. So sunlight exposure is good. It's good to know. I always ask that question on every phone call. All right, the fastening method. You may not know what fastening method you want to use, and that's fine. That's part of the reason I'm asking all these questions, is so I can help advise you on what fastening method I would recommend. But if you do know, maybe you've done some research, you've watched some of my other YouTube videos, and you feel strongly about one, go ahead and choose it. Here are your options. 1, you're not sure, that surface screws, camo edge fasteners, concealed clips, Deckmaster undermount system, or screws and plugs. Okay? The next question is, what is the deck elevation? Here are your options. You're not sure, less than 2 feet, 2 to 5 feet, 5 feet or more. This is important because it helps me determine whether or not we need to think about cupping mitigation, specifically bottom grooves. It will help me understand what kind of airflow is underneath the deck, because that's very important when we're talking about Ipe or other Brazilian hardwood decking. It's a very important question. Also, if you have an under deck system to drain water underneath, please choose the option less than 2 feet, because that is considered an airflow restricted condition, and I need to know about that so we can talk about what mitigation options there are to put together a good, successful system. So that one, it was deck elevation. Square footage. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know what the square footage of their deck is, even when they call me. And really, it's not that big of a deal. A lot of the questions I'm asking are to help guide you to the best product for the conditions, the best fasteners for the conditions, and whether the square footage is 200 or 2,000 square feet, it really doesn't matter. Eventually, I'll need to know it so that I can put together an accurate quote and you get enough materials to do your job. But at the initial stages, I really don't need to know what the square footage is. But if you do know it, it's helpful. Put it in there because it helps me determine what the weight's going to be. Then I can get a more accurate number on the cost of shipping. So here are your options for square footage. Not sure. less than 200 square feet, 200 to 500 square feet, 500 to 1,000 square feet, over 1,000 square feet. If you know, great. If you don't know, that's fine too. It doesn't matter. Next question is really just a box. Additional comments or questions. There's the place where if you know you're thinking about a drainage system under the deck, put it in there. If it's a dock and not a deck and it's over water, put it in there. Let me know if it's a fixed dock or a floating dock. That changes completely what fastening methods I would recommend, whether it's fixed or floating. If it's a deck that's on the rooftop of a house with a rubber membrane underneath, let me know that in there. That's very important because we talk about a totally different set of products that would perform best. The next question is your zip code. I don't like giving people I don't know my address where my family sleeps. I don't like to do that until I know I'm going to do business with them. I'm not going to ask you for your address until it's time to give it to me. So the zip code will suffice. That will give me enough information to put together an accurate cost of shipping. The next question is, how would you like to be contacted? Some people don't like to be called. Some people don't check their emails very often. It's fine. Some people just want to be texted. Okay, we can do that. No problem. Whatever you want. Eventually, we may need to speak on the phone, but for the initial conversation, we don't need to. We can do it however you want. Call, text, email, or all is fine, in which case I'll probably pick up the phone and call you. So the last one is, how do we reach you? It's asking for your name, your email, your phone. I promise we don't put your email addresses on a newsletter thing. We don't put your phone number in some weird phone number thing. We don't do anything like that. It's only to get in contact with you. If I need to clear something up very quickly that can be done more quickly over the phone, I may give you a call. But if you insist on not getting a call, I won't call you. But I do want you to put it in there for me. That would be a big help. Once you click send or submit or whatever the button says at the end, it goes to my email and as a text message to my phone, and I usually answer and respond very, very quickly. After you hit that button, you'll get sent over to another page. On that page, I've chosen some very specific videos from my YouTube page that are helpful for the first-time ePay person looking into ePay as an option. I've kind of chosen them specifically because I think they're more helpful. Take a look at some of those. There is one about cupping. I mentioned cupping earlier. I have a whole video about cupping. Or just go straight over to my YouTube channel and start watching the videos on there. They're all meant to help people that aren't very familiar with ePay. And by the way, it's pretty helpful for the people that are familiar with ePay that don't know a lot of this stuff. So it will be helpful to you. Go check it out, and I'll see you there. The tightening points here.
Fine, but it should be a minimum of 3/4 inches. So
the bottom expands out. I don't want to go into too great a detail.